All right. Good morning, everyone. And thank you so much for joining us on today's version of the e-commerce show. And yeah, and if we haven't met yet, I'm Becky J. Anderson from BeckyJAnderson.com. And my partner here is,
I'm Brandon Wagner with waxcrumbles.com.
yeah, and we are going to have a fun show today. So we are kind of doing a reiteration of the show that we had about a month ago, where
Was
we
it?
had, it feels like it's been about that long.
I think
Maybe
it's been 3 weeks.
3 weeks, 4 weeks. Anyway, so for those of you that missed that show, what we did, we put Brandon and Paul, my husband, who's got a startup fragrance air freshening or odor eliminating business. We put them together and we
No,
talked.
it's odor eliminating molecules.
Yes, we're going to have you. Poor Paul. Anyway, so we're going to, we
I'm not
talked
letting you mess up, Paul. I got you.
Thank you. So we talked about ways they could increase their e-commerce sales, and we talked about 5 different buckets. And Paul is of revenue, and Paul is in Las Vegas this morning. He had to drive over and meet with a client, a deal that's going to be very nice for him. He's very excited about that. So we're not having him here today. He'll be here next week. However, we are going to circle back with all of the areas with Brandon that we talked about. So when I started talking to Brandon a lot, Brandon only had one avenue of sales, one bucket of sales.
One bucket.
I like to call them buckets because the more buckets you have, the more diversified your business is and the healthier your business is.
We were just talking about that in the group.
Mm-hmm. So Brandon, your bucket where all of your sales were before we started this, tell them.
My bucket was just Instagram. That was it.
No,
we did the restock events. I think we did the restock
that
events.
That was your marketing bucket. Your sales,
that was it.
Your sales bucket. Your sales
no
bucket was, yeah.
No Pinterest. No Tumblr. No wholesale. We didn't do wholesale actually before I met you. I didn't do wholesale at all, ever.
No, I'm talking about buckets where your money comes from. So that's Instagram is your marketing bucket. The only bucket you had when I started talking to you was your e-commerce bucket.
Right.
On Shopify. Brandon had one avenue of distribution and he was getting sales from one place. So Brandon, do you care to tell him about our conversation we had about e-commerce? About wholesale?
So which one?
One? Yeah, one of many, but okay, so when we started talking about wholesale, what did you say to me?
Oh, I didn't want to do wholesale at all. I was like, well, why would I sell wholesale $3 a bag if I can sell it retail for $6 a bag?
Correct. and what are you doing now?
It doesn't even feel right to say that. It does not feel right to say that. Now, I mean, wholesale pays my rent, and then I'm doing anywhere from like $2 to $5 grand a month in just wholesale, and that's 1, 2, 3 boxes out the door versus like 100, 200 boxes out the door.
Mm-hmm. He had a big order go out the door this morning.
Biggest one ever went out today.
Mm-hmm. For those of you that haven't branched into wholesale yet, wholesale is a beautiful way to get high volume. And a lot of people, the misconception with wholesale is that, oh, I have to cut my price by half. I don't want to cut my price. It's just going to erode my margin. But yet,
originally I was like, okay, I'll give them 25% off.
Can't do it.
You're like, no.
You can't do it. You have to give the person that's buying your product the 50% margin so that they can afford to make their margin on their end. Then it becomes a win-win for both parties.
If your product's set up right, I mean, if you're making that 3x with a wholesale.
Yeah. Now, in order to wholesale, you do have to have gross margins so that you can afford to give them the 50% off or price your product so that you can. But what it does is it brings in the volume. So Brandon has learned that it's just extreme volume. So would it be fair to say now wholesale is your number one?
It is.
Yeah.
It's taken over. I mean, we have 2 really big sellers, and including an official one in the UK that we just launched that we'll talk about this week. That box goes out tomorrow morning. I just put the label on the box. I might show you guys. We might take a field trip downstairs. I'll show you the big box. And And then we have a couple stores here that carry it. I'm getting some people who want to just not consult, but like kind of just sell it in their local area at local shops, at shows. And I'm like, why not? You know, it's not going to interfere with my market. Another avenue, another bucket.
And I look
Australia,
at it,
Canada.
Brandon, I look at it, the more places that your product is, the more brand awareness you have. So that when someone runs across your product, they're like, oh, I've seen that. And they have to see it so many times before they feel like they want to purchase it, because they have
I want to ask you something.
You.
I was scared. I'm still almost scared of letting someone sell wax crumbles online in the States.
No.
No?
I wouldn't be scared of that at all. In fact, that speaks to one of the other areas that I was going to talk to you about on wholesale, because the people that buy your products wholesale will have retail stores and they can bring it up. But see, you're going to have your own unique selling proposition in the fact that you're the brand, you're the company. So the people that are selling it on their websites are going to have a conglomerate of brands, I'm sure. If they're buying you wholesale, they're probably buying other people as well. But one of the areas that I'm working with several of my bigger clients, we're starting to get their products online at big box retailers, because that's kind of the new secret out in the world. And Brandon, I want to do this with you too, because we could start you at like a Bed Bath Beyond. A Bed Bath Beyond or something like that, where your product would go online. So you may not have the capability to do the huge volume to sell into the Bed Bath Beyond stores right now, because the EDI and the logistics, the EDI is electronic data interchange, where you have to be all set up to receive orders and payment through that and the shipping into their DCs. But one of the things now that Amazon has done is it's made the retail environment so competitive that all these other big box stores, if you go to, say, for example, Kohl's, or you go to Bed Bath Beyond, or you go to one of those where your product would be a good fit, but maybe you're not ready to go big, go to their e-commerce stores, and you will see they probably have 50% of the stuff that's on their e-commerce stores is not in their stores. They call it an online only product. And so that's a way to put your toes in the water with wholesale at a bigger level without having to have the logistics to ship into the big ones. And most of them are starting to do that. I'm blown away. I'm blown away by how many of them are doing it. And it's so easy to get in there.
I feel like that's an obvious one, and I didn't really think I could do that.
But it's it's kind of a new thing in the last couple of years, where it's so much more dynamic and so much more easier to get in. But you just have to know how, and you have to have the connections to get in there. But I think now that we've got you going down the wholesale path, I want to see you go down the wholesale e-commerce path. So then what's going to happen, back to your question, I'm scared to sell my product online in the US. No. Now they're going to go to Bed Bath Beyond and they're going to say, oh, that's wax crumbles. I've seen them. And, it doesn't matter where. This is how I look at it. It doesn't matter where they're buying it. They're buying it, and you're getting the sell either way.
Carried at Bed Bath and Beyond. Carried at Kohl's.
Yeah. So you have
a lot of it for online sellers is just a restructuring of your wholesale contact page. I think I need to have a contact page, and I think I need to have a wholesaler's page that is just a contact page with extra text.
Yeah. So it doesn't matter how you're selling it as long as you're selling it. Because really, at the end of the day, you're getting the sell. Whether Bed Bath Beyond is buying it from you and their customers are buying it from them. So I think that needs to be one of our goals for you in the next, say, 90 days.
Yes.
In the next 90 days, let's get you set up in at least one big retailer. So that when that article that we're getting about you hits in Entrepreneur Magazine, we will be ready for fall and holiday, and people will know your brand and look for it. But
Amazon is another bucket.
Yeah,
I know. In fact, I have a hold on. I'm going to show you guys. I'm going to go grab it. I have a new thing I had to put together. Oh, I got two. Okay. This is about update. Hello. So we're doing a new product size, first of all. And, we sell ours in, I don't have one near me, but little 3-ounce bags. That's our main thing for $6 a bag. But I ripped the top off this one. But this is an example of something we're also going to be carrying. It's a 8-ounce bag, and it's $16 worth. We're going to be selling it for $14. And that's sturdy. I can sell it to Amazon. They slap a label on the back. They ship it out.
Mm-hmm.
And people can buy them 6%.
That'd be a really good product to sit in a Bed Bath Beyond or something like that. So
it would. And these.
That's cute.
These are the bundles. They have like 5 different smaller bags in them.
Yeah. So Laura says, is this a generally true rule? An online only available product for big box stores is lesser quality? Absolutely not. That is
quantity.
Not. Oh, quantity. Quantity. Oh yeah, I read that wrong. I'm like quality. I'm like, yeah. Boy, I just scanned that. Sorry about that. That changes the whole dynamic of the question. Yeah, quantity. Yes. So you don't have to have as large. So for example, if you were going to sell something, say 1 SKU, if you were going to ship it into, say, a Kohl's, they have 1,500 stores. They would want maybe 12 products of each fragrance and color on their shelf, plus backstock in each store, plus inventory in the DC. Now, if you're going to sell online, you can imagine it's a much smaller percentage, so you don't have to have the volume and be able to do the volume that you would. So yes, it's so much easier to be online, and you don't have to go into the online store, on their shelves. When I say online, inline stores. If you don't want to, you can be just an online person. And now that you know this secret, go look at your favorite retailers and look at how many products are available only online. And those,
I'm kind of still thinking about it, and stores just keep popping up. I'm ready to just hang up and go.
Yeah.
Reach out.
Yeah. So Brandon, if you go to Kohl's, you can go to Kohl's online. You'll see that the company Candle Warmers is selling online at Kohl's, but yet they're not on the floor at Kohl's. See, so that's
what I could do, and I've learned this from just negotiation tactics, is write them and say, hey, you're carrying this in your online only section. It would go great with my product.
The way you would do it, honestly, you know how stores have buyers, for each category and department. Every chain pretty much will have an e-commerce buyer. So you just need to get in touch with that e-commerce buyer and say, hey, I've got a great product that would fit on your shelf at your store. Would you like to take a look? Let me send you a sample and pricing. And you know what? Most of the time they'll say yes. And you can at least pitch it. And at least that way you get to have the conversation with them. And then they send you the paperwork and you fill it out and you send them samples, and then you work out the logistics of, are you going to drop ship for the store, or are you going to send it in? See, a lot of these online stores will let you drop ship for them. That way it's a win-win for them. They have the clientele, they have the customer base, they have the marketing, they have everything in place. And think about it. They're going to make their 50 points margin on a product they don't have to buy, they don't have to put any cash out for, and they don't have to inventory. So it's a win-win for you. It's a win-win for them, and it's building your brand and it's building your revenue stream. So don't forget, that is an awesome one. And that's a beautiful thing about retail and going wholesale. Yeah.
Totally.
See, so that's wholesale. So now we have Brandon diversified. And when we talk about, I want all of you to have 5 buckets.
That's going to be the name of my book. Brandon diversified.
Brandon diversified. That's good. So we've got Brandon going from e-commerce to doing wholesale. Now we want to get him to do wholesale. He's doing wholesale to independents right now, but we want to get him doing wholesale to some bigger stores. So
I want Kohl's. I wanted Kohl's for months.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, let's work it. Let's start with like a Bed Bath Beyond or something a little bit smaller, but let's get you going in that avenue. So Brandon, right now you have 2 buckets, correct?
Yeah, basically.
Okay. What's your next bucket going to be? I know what I want your next bucket to be.
It probably would be Amazon.
Amazon. That's what I was going to say. Yeah.
I need to get on it already.
Okay. How many people in the room? We have 26 people in the room. 27 people in the room. How many of you are selling on Amazon? Put a 1 in the chat. E-boy. Look, we're getting a lot of them, Brandon. You're late to the party.
Okay.
You're late to the party.
Wow, guys.
Oh, and for those of you that are new in the room here, the reason this whole thing started is Brandon told me he wanted to buy a house and he had to double his income. And I said, Brandon, we are going to triple your income so you can buy that house and you don't have to worry. So anyway, we're working on Brandon buying his house by the end of the year, or at least moving significantly closer.
I've been looking at the tax brackets for like the amount of money I want to make too, and I'm just like, okay.
So anyway, so now we have Brandon going e-commerce. We have Brandon going wholesale independence. We're going to work on Brandon going wholesale retailers.
Is Becky frozen for you guys? Okay, so you guys hear me say.
And we're going to Brandon, you got to refresh, buddy. There you go. Okay, you were frozen.
You were frozen.
Oh, you were.
Wait, who was frozen?
Who was frozen, me or Brandon? Huh. Oh.
If it was Becky, put a B. If it was Brandon, put a B.
It was me that was frozen.
Amazon is the next.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so Brandon, here is what I like to do. It's called the commitment approach. Okay? You're all going to love this.
I've never even listed on Amazon. Like, I don't even know how to do it yet, but I will.
It is a piece of cake, and you can do it in one day. So, who here wants us to get Brandon to pin down and do the commitment approach when he's going to be listed on Amazon? Me. See, me. Okay, let's not kill you, but let's put a realistic timeline on when we're going to have.
Thank you for that like disclosure there. Let's not kill you.
Let's not kill you, because I know you have a lot coming up with your launch. But what is a realistic timeline that we can say, Brandon, you're going to have 12 SKUs, just 12. That's all you have to do. Your top 12 sellers that it's easy for you to keep in stock, because now we know you've raised your capability and with manufacturing. So all you have to do is list 12 SKUs.
I would love to do the thing where you send it in and let them do that.
You could, but you don't have to.
I like that idea.
But you don't have to.
FBA, is that what it's called? What does it stand for?
Yeah, FBA. The Fulfillment by Amazon is what it stands for. So,
I thought it was Facebook Amazon.
Fulfillment by Amazon. So what you would what you would do is send it in, and then as the sales occur, they would send it out. But it's just as easy the way Paul's doing Amazon, and he puts absolutely no effort into it. We haven't run any ads for him yet on Amazon, which I want to get going this week because it will significantly increase his sales. Because honestly, how
would you do that? How would you run ads to an Amazon listing?
Amazon has, when you get your Amazon up, I'll show you, but Amazon has an ad their click ads in Amazon. And I'll tell you, Brandon, I have a client that 100% of his sales are his online and Amazon, and he's going to hit the $2 million mark this year. So
you should talk to him about buckets.
Yeah. Well, I'm working on his buckets because I'm branching him into overseas distributors and stuff like that. So we have his buckets all laid out, but for right now, he's doing really well. And so I think that when you open up Amazon, the floodgates are going to open up for you. And I don't want you to have the fear of selling online besides your own website, because look at your website as your branding and what
do you think I should sell on Amazon first?
Let me tell you something also with Amazon. They're not going to take 50% like your retailers do.
No,
Amazon will take 15.
My surprise.
Yeah, this is why you want to do it, because your margin is there. They'll take 15%. Now here's a secret that not many people know about Amazon either. When you start doing really well on Amazon, Amazon becomes like a key account, like a big box retailer, because now they will, like this client I'm working with, they will buy from you. So they will issue a purchase order. Normally, when you work with Amazon, you just ship it yourself Like you get the order, you print it like Paul does, you ship it, they keep 15% for using their platform. Or you can do FBA where they'll keep a little more, but they kind of balance out because you're doing freight and all that stuff. Or you can do, they have Vendor Central and Seller Central. The Vendor Central is where they'll say, you have an item that is doing really, really well, and we'll buy it from you and we'll commit to take, X amount. So this client I have has a really high ticket item and they'll take like 60 units at a time, something like that. So then it's like a big purchase order for him, and you get this injection of cash in all at one time, and they're carrying the inventory, and they still, even on Vendor Central when they buy, don't take 50%. They only take 33%.
And that's still very good.
Absolutely. Because then you look at it this way, all of a sudden, when somebody goes to Amazon and they Google whatever it is they're looking for that you sell.
I never went on Amazon and looked at competitors.
Oh my gosh. When I started in my business, Amazon was just books. That's where I bought all my business books. But it
really?
has come so far. Seriously, I bought books on Amazon.
Think about Amazon just being books.
But the thing is, though, in the last how many years, they've just taken off. And honestly, because I have 4 daughters that are all, raising kids and career women and busy lives, they buy everything on Amazon. I've even got one daughter who has.
I'm looking now. I would destroy these little.
Yeah, who has her toilet paper on auto ship. She's gone in and calculated, I need toilet paper this often. And with Prime, they don't pay. So honestly, the more aligned you can get with Amazon, they're no threat. All they are is helping you build brand equity. So you have to look at it like, now my Amazon bucket is becoming so huge that it's worth it. And they're only taking 15%. And you're doing no work. You just list it one time. It's there. If you want to run some ads, you can. It'll help draw it up to the top. But honestly, it's good stuff. It's
okay,
good
I'm convinced.
stuff.
Amazon. I think we're going to do 12 different scents like this.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Even with Amazon, Brandon, you could do 6 or you could do 12. But what you can do, you go in and do your listing and you put your picture there, and then, let Amazon do the work. If you want to run an ad, you can. But then what happens, you get an email every time you get an order. And what Paul does, he just prints it off. He ships it out that day. He always tries to ship out that day because he wants 5-star reviews. And that's the key with Amazon. You want really good service. But the way you bundle your packages and they're all cute with the tissue and everything, you'll get 5-star reviews right out of the gate. And so you can list as many products as you want. You just want to make sure that when you start listing, you keep that certain amount in stock and you can ship that day or the next day. Because part of the deal with Amazon, people expect to get their product really fast.
So when you ship from your house, do you get a shipping, do they pay the shipping? Does Amazon pay the shipping?
It's all worked out in the thing. You can, when you ship it in there, they do. When you don't, but they give you a credit for it. They'll charge the customer if they don't have Prime a certain amount, but it's all worked out in the margin. So it ends up being a really good deal. Jenny says she ordered Paul's product and had it in 2 days. Yeah, see, Paul tries to make sure he ships that day or the next day for sure, so they get it. And Jenny, have you tried it yet? It's great everywhere.
Have you used it on a dead body by chance?
Or have you used it on a litter box or dogs or the garbage can or little boys or?
Reviewer groups, that kind of sounds shady. Might not be, but.
Any thoughts about using the Amazon reviewer groups to get those 5-star? You run the risk. The client I have that sold on Amazon forever doesn't like using them because he says you run the risk of getting a 4-star or a 3-star, because you want on your Amazon reviews, you want absolutely 100% legit reviews, and you don't want to have to pay people to get them. So you genuinely want them. So Jenny used Paul's spray on the Diaper Genie. Hey, it works on the Diaper Genie. But how are people finding your products on Amazon? There's millions of products. Okay, part of the
people.
Yes, there are. But that's a really good question, Mr. Wonderful. That because you want to, when you list on Amazon, you want to use the keywords that will definitely describe what you do. And so you can make your description with keywords, you can make your bullet points, and there's some guidelines that Amazon has, but the work on Amazon is upfront in getting your descriptions all set up so that it's searchable and people find it. And then the key is you want to maybe run some ads to get some traffic there and get a few purchases, because once you start getting purchases and you get some reviews, you're golden. Then
and check out like competing products on Amazon too, to like search it and see what comes up first, then kind of look at their tags and their description.
Now you don't want to copy because that's really taboo on Amazon, but you can maybe model after. Success leaves clues. So you can kind of follow suit and see. But what happens once you have a product on Amazon take off, the word of mouth really spreads and the power of the reviews. So for example, when I was telling you the riches are in the niches, and the more narrow you get in your niche, the more focused, the easier it is. So back to Paul's odor eliminator, he's niched down to the point, even though it works on Jenny's Diaper Genie. The best place that he's found to just niche is is golden on the bulletproof vests for police officers. And they
casinos, they're gonna go through like 2 bottles a day.
Well, because it's so much better than like Febreze or anything that you can buy commercial. So it will get rid of smoke just incredibly well. So if you've got smoke in a car or you've got smoke like in a casino, it will completely annihilate those smells. So it's just great on the military stuff, on the bulletproof vests, on the boots, on the gear, in the vehicles for police officers. And they have really taken to that. So that's his focus on Amazon, is directed to the police officers. And, you know, all it takes is one cop to walk in and, hey, my vest isn't stinky anymore.
Yeah.
You know,
and for getting those reviews on Amazon, a lot of times if you're running a business that has a separate list, because I'm thinking, you know, the second I put all my products on Amazon, I'm going to blast it out to 2,000 email subscribers, and I'm going to get like 50 sales minimum.
Yeah.
And they're all going to leave 5-star reviews because they love me off the bat.
And you know what? You want to make sure you solve the pain point too, as you're setting up those descriptions. So one of the things that we've laughed about with Paul's bulletproof vest odor eliminator, that it seems like on the weekend, the orders just fly in. And I kind of joke with him. I'm like, those cops are off duty. They have those stinking vests hanging up. The wives don't like the smell. And they're trying to solve a problem and go, how can we get the odor out of these stinking bulletproof vests?
You know what? Maybe I should make a scent called Odor Eliminator.
Yeah.
Put it on Amazon. You never know.
That's a cool one. Garbage truck and recycling center worker, guys who work with tar. Oh, hey, see, all the best ideas come from people in the trenches.
Pac-Man.
Yeah, yeah. So that's your Amazon bucket. So then you'll have Shopify, you'll have Wholesale, you'll have Amazon, and you're going to have big box.
Go ahead, say it. You're going to have Kohl's.
E-commerce. Yeah, e-commerce. Okay, so another bucket that you could work on very easily, because you're already doing your product, private label. Private label.
I know. Oh my goodness.
See how many buckets I'm going to have you doing. And Brandon, what's going to happen? You need to diversify your week now, and you need to say, I'm going to work on marketing for Monday on one. And so you put your buckets into the 5 days of the week, and you put laser sharp focus on that bucket. And then all of a sudden at the end of the year, your business is so healthy and so diversified because you have so many of these buckets. So I was just reading the thing, verified reviews.
I know.
Yeah.
Private label stuff. So private label, who would you say I private label to? Do I pitch? I know like Dolly's is always private labeling to local big franchises just to get those candies made.
Yeah. Well, the way you could start is you could even start in our e-commerce Facebook group, and you could say, hey, does anybody here have an online shop or a retail shop and they want to private label my wax? And then you can either help them design the labels or let them design the labels. So here's how I did it when I had my business. I would sell everything that I had in my business without a label or with a label. And if they wanted to buy it without a label, then they made their own label and they put it on. I just had my warning label on the bottom. You know how you have to manufactured by my company and the warning label, all that type stuff. But then they could do that. Or if they wanted my graphics department to make them a label, I charged them $25 a label to design it. See, and then we could print the labels for them. And so
I'm setting up a wholesale website right now. And the boxes of product, you buy them 20 at a time. You have to buy 100 bags minimum to check out. And I could have just a simple little check labeled or not labeled.
Yeah. Now, Shopify has a plugin to just do wholesale. You're right. And then you could say, okay, now here's the thing that you can do. If they're buying it wholesale with the label, then it's yours. But then if they're buying it without, then you could put another little thing. Do you want us to do the label? And then that's another revenue stream for you.
Product just for the website.
Yeah, if you design it. Yeah. Yeah. In fact, you know what, Brandon? This is a good idea for you. What I did when I worked the trade shows, I took a whole section of my booth and I had all of the stuff that I made available through private label. And I went as far as to put a label on it, and I called it Your Name Here. And I did the artwork and the fragrance and everything. So then the artwork was all done. All we had to do is take Your Name Here out and put their company name. You would be surprised how many people would love to do that. And then if you start promoting it, okay, so you have such a big following on Instagram, you could go Your Name Here products on Instagram. And I bet you have
every day I get comments. I can sell this so easy.
See, you just have to get creative in how you're thinking about how you're going to sell it. So
Jenny, if I was, because I'm the lead designer over at Wax Crumbles, what I would do is probably charge like $30 per label, $29 per label.
Yeah. Yeah. And then it's all set up. See, I get requests for that on my water all the time. So you should do it, Jenny, because it's
Mind
another way.
In-house. Yeah, we print our labels.
Yeah, and you want to look at it this way. So this goes back to your question, should I be worried about my products being sold online in the US? Same thing with private label. Don't worry about it, because guess what? Who's getting the sale at the end of the day? No matter who sells it, you. And who's expanding their reach? You. So it doesn't matter, because the people that are buying it are definitely going to have a different market and a different customer base than you. And to
check out, if you want to do that, I think something I'll do is have a little, you agree to no contest, and then there's a link to the document that says what the no contest agreement is.
And there's 300 million people in the US. So you go, okay, 300 million people could literally be buying your products. So don't ever fear competition. Competition is really good. It's really healthy, and it makes you be creative and aggressive in what you do. And so it's good. It's good for us. It's good for us. I wouldn't fear it. I would celebrate it. So.
All right. I got that down then. Private label. Do you have any other buckets you're just going to pull out of your hat before?
Okay. I have a bucket that so I have to tell you something.
You have another bucket?
I have another bucket we did not talk about, but that we forget about, because the perception is that it's cheap. But the reason I'm even thinking of this bucket, this makes me so proud of one of my clients. So I had a client call last night. You know, when we couldn't talk, I had a call with one of my clients, and she had listened to this very blab that we did, 3-4 weeks ago about the buckets. And so she took our advice to heart and started laying out her buckets. And she opened up a bucket that I didn't even have on my list. And she has already done incredible numbers with it in that 3 weeks. And that is eBay.
Really? Now eBay, I feel like I can approach and do, because eBay doesn't have like such a high standard of everything you have to do. It's not scary to kind of approach eBay and do eBay.
eBay. You forget about eBay. Think about how many things I have heard you, Brandon, say I buy on eBay.
I know. I'm an addict.
To me, eBay feels like my husband's used car parts or something. So it never crossed my mind that eBay could be where people are looking for stuff. But I'm like, do you realize how big eBay is? It's one of the biggest retailers or e-commerce sites in the entire world. It's ranked right up there. And so why would we forget eBay? It's just more sales.
That's another bucket. I need to make a bucket PDF so everyone can write down their buckets.
Brandon, I want to see bucket-shaped cutouts on your wall with your buckets in and how much time you're going to focus on each bucket. So when we have this competition with Paul, he'll go, oh my gosh. Because
I know, I'll be like, look, Paul, my buckets. I'll have them behind me plastered.
Although Paul's probably going to come back from Vegas with Caesar's Palace purchase order. So
I know. Go away, Paul.
However,
I'm going to call him as he's driving back. What do you think you're doing?
Yeah, he's really focusing on wholesale. So,
but as long as you take action with these buckets, because it's fun to write them down. But I know the only thing that would stump me, because I've been in the past where I take all these actions and get it all written down and don't take actual action. Taking action is going to get you everywhere.
Okay, do you remember my saying? 2 a day, 10 in play, follow up will always pay. So if you do 2 things a day in one of your buckets to move your business forward, that is a revenue generating activity.
That would be the PDF.
Yes.
The bucket and then the quote.
2 a day, 10 in play, follow up will always pay. So you have your buckets that you're going to do. And if you do 2 things a day, that's a revenue generating activity that's going to move your business forward. That's 60 things in the month that you have just done for your business that your competitor isn't doing.
I'm thinking of having like 6 buckets on the wall and then like that quote big above it and then like a notepad stapled to the wall next to it where it's like write 2 tasks down and do them.
Yeah. And you know what you can do? I love using the sticky pad approach. I would do all the things that I could do that would be a project, and I would put them on stickies on the wall, and then I would move them under my list. So we would have, but I did it on a whiteboard in the conference room. But what you do is you put your tasks that you could do. For example, you could go eBay, at least put a few things up and see, because you're a pro at eBay, Brandon. You're buying on it all the time. Go sell on it.
I know. Buy where you sell. I mean, sell where you buy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Quote right there.
Yeah. How much do you use Amazon?
More than I'd like to admit. A lot.
Yeah. See, your generation thinks to go there first.
Yeah.
So, but it's interesting.
I have a box from Amazon right now at the mailroom.
Yeah, it's interesting where the millennials think to go. See, I always still kind of go to Google. I've got a daughter who says, Mom, don't ever go to Google. Go to Pinterest first, as a search engine, because all these things are becoming really big search engines, and they'll have really good ideas and information on them. So it's interesting where the kids go. And then another thing too, YouTube.
Yeah.
YouTube has a lot of
information. That's what I did for all my marketing research when I even entered the candle world. I used YouTube. I watched 10 plus hours of video just on my couch.
Yeah. Yeah. So the other thing that I would love to see you do, Brandon, is get affiliates for your e-commerce store. So there is software that you can get that's pretty cheap. Yeah. And you put affiliates on it, because that's a completely different revenue stream. Now, you're not selling wholesale to the affiliates. What you're doing, the affiliates are talking in...
What's the other word for affiliate?
In their content. Affiliates is what I call it, because they're different.
Cindy Collins uses this other word.
Ambassadors. She uses brand ambassadors. But the way the affiliate programs typically work, you let them sign up and they get a percentage of commission.
We had that for a while.
Yeah, percentage of commission. But here's the deal. If they're doing their content marketing and talking about your product, and they're putting it on their blog or wherever their source of information is, they can put it anywhere, and they talk about it with a link back. Now, typically the really good ones are not just going to shove it down your throat. They're going to tell a story about how they used it. For example, Paul's odor eliminator. A soccer mom could talk about how stinky the gear was when she picked the kids up from football and she couldn't get that funk out of her car.
That genuine use.
Yeah. And so she would use it, she would tell about it, and oh, by the way, it's here. Now you get the bloggers that have really high traffic. What happens is there's a cookie in that software that will take them over to Paul's website. It will record the sales. And then that mom will get a percentage of sales and a commission check for those sales. So it's not in product, it's in commission sales. And you don't have to pay it until they sell. So it doesn't cost you anything to get those.
What would you give them commission?
You can do anywhere from, if you look at share a sale and commission junction, they go anywhere from 5 to 10%. Now, if you give them a really good percentage, like even 15 or 20, they'll be really aggressive in promoting it. But remember, you're getting retail dollars for it, and you're giving your wholesalers 50% off. So why wouldn't you give a mommy blogger 15 or 20% off to get her million people's eyes on your product? And then guess what? When they hit your website, they're joining your list. And if they buy from you, that's another new customer.
Much more aggressive than the that we had at one point.
Yes. And so affiliate programs, people underestimate and forget. But affiliate, it's huge. It's an avenue people don't even think to do, but it's awesome. So anyway, that's a good one.
I'm going to make a big bucket PDF, and one of the things are going to be like a list of possible buckets. And I'm going to, let me write some out right now. I mean, the first one is just your e-com.
Your e-com. And then the next one would be your independent retailers, the wholesale for them.
Okay, yeah.
And I would say your third one should be Amazon.
There's Amazon, there's eBay, and then there's the online.
Amazon, eBay, and then I would say private label. Those should be your 5 main ones. Then I would say the ones that are bigger, that you always have your stretch goals. And I would say the online big box retailers would be a stretch goal for you to try to get. And then here's another one people always forget if you want sales, and that's fundraisers. Fundraisers, honestly, you can do $1 million a year in fundraisers if it's done correctly, and you get tied in with the right organizations. So just like there's trade shows for wholesale and there's trade shows for all these things, there's trade shows for fundraisers. And all of those PTA moms and all of those distributors and all of those people that are in charge of the organization for their state or their region would go to this and pick up lines.
It's easy to forget that there are events dedicated to getting in front of these people. Like, these are hot ticket seats that you can buy.
Yeah. Yeah. And the people that live close to those are really, see, for us, it is so nice that we're this close to Vegas, because everything is in Vegas event wise. It's either in the category that we're talking about or the space, because they have all the big trade shows, because it's cheap for people to go there and do conventions. And
when I was flying to Kansas on the first time I was ever flying to Kansas, I sat next to a lady who was on her way. She was flying for a Scentsy convention, which is a competitor, to Vegas.
Yeah. Yeah. B. Williams went to ASD last month. That's an awesome show too. That's a show that ASD is a show where you can buy cheaper products. It's more like a retail arbitrage. It's a cheaper place to buy. It's a lot of discounts and closeouts and stuff, but it's a great show for e-commerce inventory or something like that. So eBoy says, but don't fundraisers expect free or serious discounts? The way the fundraisers work, it's just like selling to a wholesaler. You would give them their wholesale price, and then they turn around and do all the work and sell to the organizations. So it's just like anything.
50% is a serious discount.
Wait till you go to Canton Fair in China. Then you haven't seen anything. He says Chinese factories, the ASD show. Kind of it is, but a mini version. So Brandon, your buckets: Shopify, wholesale, Amazon, eBay, private label.
Right.
Then we're going to try for online retailers. I think you ought to consider somewhere in there. Of course, you can't do it all at once because you've got to run the business.
I'm like, okay, just get to the point.
But do you remember the CEO date meeting? Do you remember the CEO date sheet? And there was business development for like 2 afternoons on that. Business development is when you would do this. So that way you're doing really intentional scheduling of your time, and not just focusing in the here and now, but you're thinking in the future by setting up these other buckets and taking the time to build
repeated times to dedicate to this kind of stuff. It'll get done.
To build the systems and processes. So if you set up your systems as a CEO with your calendar, and you set up your systems of what you're going to do with your time, and you set up your buckets and your systems, it becomes so easy. It becomes so easy. And then all of a sudden you're scaling and you don't even...
I'm planning out, I'm about to sneeze. I'm planning out this really big wall mural that I'm going to have made of just different papers and giant Post-it notes. You can get them at Office Depot. That's going to have like 5 buckets, It's going to have all these quotes from you.
Yeah. Yeah. And so what you can do, Brandon, you can say, okay, my goal for the year is X amount of dollars. Then you break it up and go, what is realistic in that goal for each one of these buckets from a revenue perspective? And so I always like to have my business so diversified and so healthy that these different buckets, you're really watching and tracking with an intentional basis what the revenue is in each one of those buckets.
So smart to break that goal into buckets.
And so then you break it into the buckets, and then you say, okay, my sales for the year need to be X. My sales for the year in each bucket needs to be X. Then you divide it by how many days of the year there are, and then you put that sticky on your computer with your goal and say, that is what I have to get every day in my business to make my numbers. See how easy it becomes? So Brandon, if you want to do $250,000 a year in sales, do you know how much you need to do a day to make that number?
Not off the top of my head, but I can do it.
It's about $650 a day. And you know what? That's super easy and doable for you.
You know what? Yeah, because who was it that was talking about she went to a party, Loving Cup Teas, right?
Yeah.
One of your lovely ones. And they did $500 just in one night from a little get together with some friends. You know, parties like that, that's a really good way to do it. That's another bucket, actually. Some people wanted to carry our stuff just to do parties. And those are really just reps, kind of sort of how I would do it. I wouldn't have a pyramid in mind.
Right.
But that's another bucket.
Yeah, it is. You could do a party plan. So Brandon, it's $684 a day on average for you. Now you look at it like you're not selling in the 14 days other than your 1 day launch, but your 1 day launch every 2 weeks.
It does a lot, yeah.
You're not far off from that. So then you start going, okay, now if you want to keep your e-commerce site for the every 14 days, make sure your other 4 to 5 buckets are everyday sales, because it won't be long before you're making more than that a day. And then that's going to start putting you in the
update everyone.
Yeah.
I got Tin Man.
Yeah. So I
got Tin Man from Becky.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh man, Becky, I barely had any time with all these wholesale orders to build stock up for this restock event Friday. And I feel like we almost didn't have it. And then I went and counted stock for how much stock we had made. Just easy peasy with Tin Man. I've made almost double the stock than my previous ever records for any restock event. So I'm like, if I actually focused for these restock events, I could make, $20,000-$30,000 in a day with one event.
It's the power of your goal. It's the power of your goal. So you take your CEO week, you divide it into the buckets. And then what I do is I do my top 3 items a day. And I always set my calendar the night before. So I say, what are the 3 things that have to get done tomorrow, no matter what? And then you have your other list of everything else. If you get those 3 done that you can add, but you have to have at least those 3 done. Right. But you make those 3 intentional, guided towards the bucket and growing your revenue. Yes, he named his Tin Man Tin Man.
Of course I named it Tin Man. I'm Kansas.
Okay, so here's a question here. Speaking of cheapville, is Craigslist a legitimate bucket?
I wouldn't see it as a way to really do passive stuff. I mean, if you're like, I know the girls up here that run the complex, the complex I live at, they have to list everything on Craigslist, but that's like $1,000 of revenue every month for each thing that's purchased. So some things, big ticket items, Craigslist is a serious bucket, I would say.
They're making fun of my face on Craigslist.
I know, Becky had a yuck face. Well, if you were trying to sell, you have a couple more of those Tin Men left. And, I'm going to get them. But if somebody else wanted them and you had to get rid of them, and you didn't have a brand, Craigslist.
Yeah, that's where Paul liquidated a lot of stuff, was Craigslist.
There you go.
But Paul is seriously hanging on to some of those more of those Mr. Tin Men, because he knows Brandon's going to need them. I've used Craigslist for a constant stream of inventory to buy for sell on eBay.
Yeah, you can put things.
For retail arbitrage, it's probably not a bad place.
Right. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Closeouts.
Was there an actual CEO date sheet? I put it on my blog. I wrote a blog about it.
Let's say they need that one.
Yeah, I did it on my blog. Actually, Brandon, you could
make an e-commerce planner. That would be amazing.
Yeah, I know. Hey, that's a good idea.
Write it down.
That is a really good idea. We're on to it. So, Brandon, you ready to roll for the week?
So a lot of more bucket work is the goal, but it's just a really intensified goal with the Amazon bucket. So Amazon, what I'm going to do is I have to order the correct bags for this, and I'm still waiting to get samples. They're going to be all clear. They're not going to look like this. The ones that I'm getting are all clear because I want my product to do all the work. I'm going to make big stickers for it. So I would actually, this next show is in 2 weeks. Maybe. I don't see why I can't push to get it done by then and on Amazon by then.
Okay. What's this question? Also, Becky, have you considered or used this for multi-channel sales? Used what? Did you see this link?
Opening it up.
Opening it up. What is it?
Oh yeah, there's lots of things like this on Shopify, the apps. If you look up just different streams of income type apps that just list things on Etsy, Etsy is sort of a bucket.
Yeah, we didn't even say. I'm telling you, Brandon, I've got another client who's doing $1 million a year on Etsy.
Really?
Yep.
Seriously?
Yep. And don't forget how many people pass by Etsy. So,
right.
So in theory, if you wanted to take the time to list everything across all those platforms, you really could be everywhere if you wanted to.
Yeah.
It's going to get to the point where you're going to need some maintenance. You may need to hire a part-time assistant to come in and do administrative stuff for you, like checking ads and checking listings and printing purchase orders and stuff. I think he needs a local person more than a VA. He needs somebody to come in and do the secretarial.
Count the stock,
yeah, that type stuff.
The girls do that. Summer's coming up.
Yeah. So that's good information for Brandon. We're going to watch Brandon turn from 19 to 20 and hit that.
What, 3 shows from now? Something like that.
Hit that 300K this year.
We got 6 more minutes. So if you guys have any last second questions, go ahead and ask them now. I am going to be putting together a little bit of a bucket, not PDF, but probably just a pager with like a list of different buckets at the bottom. If you have any buckets we haven't thought of that you'd like to see on that, pitch it now. Another place that we're going to be collecting buckets, I'll open up a post, is in the Facebook group. So join it. I just posted the link. We'd love to have you there. It's a really supportive group. Yep,
exactly. We would love to have you there. Or you can find me at BeckyJAnderson.com or Brandon at waxcrumbles.com, or both of us together at the eCommerce show.
Yeah,
the show. It's a really good show.
Becky website and my website. And just for the sake of it, we talked about Paul a lot. You can check him out right here.
Yes, Paul is at OAM Solutions. So if you have an odor problem, he's your guy.
Well, that's a really good question. My daily traffic to wax. Man, you don't even know, man. I have to get up. I have to get out of my Superman footy pajamas. And then I have to walk into the other room. And it's just a lot to do. That's my traffic.
Yeah, the problem you have when you work from home is knowing when to not work.
Right. Oh, yeah. I mean, now that I have built these separate zones in my house, my living room's a separate area completely now, finally, even though there's a bucket of wax in there right now, let's pretend there's not. Then my bedroom over here is kind of private. That was a big switch. I can live now, kind of. I go in here, I shut the door, wax doesn't exist for 5 minutes.
Do you know what I love about working from home? The Australians' time zone difference, and I can take night calls and Paul cooks dinner.
This is what he meant. Oh my God. Okay. Well, now you have the answers to both questions.
We knew what you meant, Mr. Wonderful. We were playing with you. The number of organic.
No, I literally thought that was the question.
No, I knew that's what he was asking.
I get at least 100 visitors a day on Wax Crumbles, but when restock days come, I get at least 1,000.
Yeah, that's good traffic. But the thing that's unique about Brandon, his conversion is like over 50%, which is unheard of, because your typical, the way e-commerce
people
sells,
like set alarms to buy.
The way
and I do come on a field trip, so we can do that before we head off.
Yeah. The way e-commerce works, in order to get sales, you have to have traffic, and then you have to have that traffic convert. Any given day, your normal percentage, if you were to check across all platforms, is 3 to 5% is considered a super, super good conversion rate. Brandon is converting at around 50%, which is just unheard of. So,
what is the word? Prime in the pipe?
Yeah.
Okay, what am I showing you guys? Well, first off, we've been cleaning up around here now that we just got this table. This whole table was full of nothing but product, boxes of product. These are the boxes that they were in. But now that's boxed downstairs with the wholesale. My living room with buckets in it that don't belong.
Yeah, Brandon, you got your rain gutters yet?
No, I haven't. Me and Jacob are going to go probably this weekend or the next. And we might grab those because Home Depot didn't have them. So we're going to have to go to Lowe's, or what's the other one you mentioned?
Menards, Lowe's, Home Depot. You could get them.
Tin Man's got some wax dried up at the bottom right now. And then here's, Big Bertha.
Look at that. So where's the Mr. Tin?
For comparison, Tin Man is over here.
There you go. Look at that. Now, Brandon used to mail them in the one to the right. Show him the little one. Now, look at them
in this one. Like,
his capacity is gone.
My capacity. It's grown a bit.
Scaling is a high-class problem. It's a good one to have.
There's the field trip.
Yep.
Yeah, so that was a 4-pound little pot, but we upgraded to that one. Actually, I thought it fit 100 pounds, and it fits 200 plus, a little bit over.
200 plus pounds a day Brandon can do. Actually, you could fill that tank a couple of times a day. I'm
about to say, I could actually it doesn't take long to melt down.
Okay, so can you imagine what my production used to look like? We had a 90,000 pound tank.
Shut up.
90,000 pound tank, and the semis would bring the liquid wax and they would hook it up and go from that into the tank.
That isn't a Tin Man. That's like Cthulhu tank.
Yeah. And then it would come down. It would go down onto a mezzanine, and there was all these mixing tanks where they would put the color and the fragrance, and the wax would go in. Then it would go down on the various lines. When we were in peak production, they were bringing those semi-loads in morning and night. So you can imagine the number of units going through that place. So yeah, Brandon.
We need to think about that.
Brandon is just at the start, but he's headed there. He's headed.
When I become a business coach, maybe one day, you never know. I'll get bored eventually. The cure time for my products. So for you guys who don't know what cure time is, that's basically how long the wax needs to sit and bind with the oil that's added in. And for us, it's 2 to 3 weeks for the best cure time.
What?
It is. I've done so much testing with it. It's 2 to 3 weeks.
Brandon, seriously, I had wax come down on the line. Our line, it would take 2 hours for it. It was moving, so that the machines would drop the wax. It would move. And then there were boxes. It would go into the boxes on the pallets, the case packs, and get shipped that day. Seriously. And by the time my wax hit the end of the line.
We ship that day. We still ship immediately.
Cured.
We
wax was
let it cure.
Yeah. It was cured in 4 hours.
Well, we use nothing but soy.
I use soy too. I use yeah.
Well, I'm gonna have to get you here to show me your secrets because I'm not witchcrafting it yet.
Yeah, because there's some chemistry that there's some stuff you can do. I'll help you with that. I probably should look at your formulas. You have my video link. Yeah.
This video first. Becky's old business.
I sold it in 2011.
There you go. Check it out there because it's awesome. She's just walking through like this hallway with employees, and she's got like a candle manufacturer. That excites me. I love that video so much.
That's because Brandon knows he's headed there.
I'm like, oh, that's
me. Yeah. Anyway, well, I would say it's getting close to a wrap. Does anybody have any more questions for us? And stay tuned for next week with the episode with Paul, where we compare how they both done, and then they get their new assignments. So
we our support Facebook group right there. I just linked it in the side.
Yeah, and thanks for spending your time with us, you guys. We really appreciate it.
See you guys next week.
See you all. Bye.